Corruption can be described as a wrongful design to cause or acquire some financial gain or unfair advantage. Many forms of corruptions are considered crimes. This could be in the form of gifts to cause some form of influence either on a public official or anybody else, talking about bribery, mismanagement, favor trading, invasion of government processes, vulnerable to exploitation such as procurement processes. In the business world, corruption most typically manifests itself in the form of internal bribery, nepotism, financial fraud, and embezzlement, as well as all sorts of petty and grand-level attempts at influencing government officials or lawmakers in one's favor. How do we curb these forms of corruption? What tools are needed to make people aware and alive to their responsibilities in making these monsters to go away or reduce the negative consequences that have accrued and given our nation the horrible name it bears? These questions and more will be our focus today on The Eagle as we check on ways and means to mitigate the risk of corruption in public and private sectors. My name is Aisha Muhammad. Welcome to The Eagle.
We are going to tackle financial crimes problems in Nigeria with a human face and a heart of lion.
The issue of corruption has taken a pathetic situation in Nigeria, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has never relented in ensuring that people take a closer look at the way they do things and rebrand the country. Recently, the executive chairman of the EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, handed over 14 properties to the government and people of Enugu State. The properties were initially forfeited to the federal government and were ceded back to the owners through the efforts of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC). Ojochukutame Eche is here with a full report.
On behalf of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the entire management of EFCC, we are delighted to hand over to the people of Enugu State through the office of the Executive Governor, Your Excellency, 14 properties or number.
The transfer of the properties to the Enugu State Governor Peter Mba was performed by the Executive Chairman of EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, at the corporate headquarters of the Commission. Speaking before the brief handover ceremony, Olukoyede, who disclosed that the road to the forfeiture dated back to 2007, spoke of the mutually beneficial relationship existing between the federal government and states. He stated that what was being witnessed testifies to a symbiotic relationship that should exist between the federal government and state governments. He told the visiting governor that the essence of the meeting was to hand over properties that were forfeited to the federal government back to the state, that the properties belong to the people of Enugu State and they deserve to have them back. Olukoyede pointed out that it shows governance can work in Nigeria and that people deserve the benefits of good governance.
The essence of this meeting here today is for us to hand over the properties that were forfeited to federal government, which of course belong to the Enugu State people, as it were, back to the people. And it shows that governance can work in Nigeria. Our people deserve the benefit of good governance, and that is what is being evidenced here today.
Earlier in his remarks, Governor Peter Mba expressed gratitude for the handover and thanked the EFCC chair and the commission for ensuring that the people of his state reclaimed their common patrimony. The governor, who noted that the properties were forfeited not to his state but to the federal government, expressed gratitude to President Bola Tinubu for making it possible for them to be returned to the government and people of Enugu State. The governor stated that without the proactiveness and speed at which the president acted on the request to cede these assets back to the people and government of Enugu State, there wouldn't have been any handover. He lauded Olukoyede's initiatives at making the EFCC a strong institution and cautioned against attempts by some individuals to distract the commission.
I want to take this opportunity to convey my profound gratitude and deep appreciation to the chairman and members of the EFCC team that have brought us to where we are here today. And this again brings me to the other gratitude that I want to convey here today. I want to acknowledge and recognize the important role the President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Without the proactiveness and the speed at which he acted to our request to cede these assets back to the people and government of Enugu State, we wouldn't have been here today. So I want to thank him most sincerely for granting our request for these assets that were forfeited to the federal government following the successful prosecution of the companies.
The properties comprise houses, transmission equipment for radio and television stations, a building for medical operations, among others. The forfeited properties were recovered from a former governor of Enugu State, Chimaroke Nnamani. Justice Mohammed Yunusa of the Federal High Court Lagos had on July 8, 2015, convicted 4 companies associated with Nnamani and ordered that their properties be forfeited to the federal government. The 4 companies are Rainbow Net Nigeria Limited, Cosmos FM, Capital City Automobile Nigeria Limited, and Renaissance University Teaching Hospital. The companies had on May 19, 2015 pleaded guilty to a 10-count amended charge brought against them by the EFCC. Ojo Chukutami Eche, reporting for The Eagle.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has reinstated its commitment to the fight against cyber crimes, stressing that the crimes have become an organized threat and onslaught to the development of the nation. This disclosure was made by the executive chairman of the EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, while receiving a delegation from the International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol, that paid him a courtesy visit at the corporate headquarters of the commission. Abbas Abubakar Omar tells us more.
The EFCC boss stated that a consultant was quoted to have said that cybercrime has assumed the 3rd largest GDP in the world, stressing that it is a sort of crime that should not be taken lightly and comes from the readiness from these countries and law enforcement agencies to collaborate and share information in such a way that each country will take responsibility for what they are supposed to take responsibility for. Olukoyede pointed out that the EFCC's operations against cybercrime were relentless and fruitful. He also stated that in the last few months, the EFCC has secured over 500 convictions in cybercrimes, and over the years, the Commission has had cause to collaborate with the FBI, NCA, and other prominent law enforcement agencies in the world in the area of combating cybercrime.
As a matter of fact, a consultant was saying that cybercrime has assumed the 3rd largest GDP in the world. Yeah, it's as serious as that. So it's a kind of crime, a sort of crime that we shouldn't take lightly. And this stems from the readiness of various countries and law enforcement agencies to collaborate, to share information, in such a way that each country will be able to take responsibility for what you're supposed to take responsibility.
Earlier in his presentation, leader of the delegation, Greg Jones, explained that Interpol was working as a neutral law enforcement agency with private partners across the world to detect and break criminal networks serving fraudsters. He disclosed that cybercrimes have become global security threats with massive impact, as many countries now recognize cybercrimes and financial crimes as national threat, because the main motivation of cybercrime normally is that financial gain, and the impact that they make on countries and the communities is massive. To this end, Jones explained that Interpol continues to identify countries with criminal networks in order to assist them to break such networks. He also disclosed that a cybercrimes convention is being negotiated with the United Nations Organization (UNO) to draw global attention and commitment to the fight against the menace. Abbas Abubakar Umar reporting for the Eagle.
The executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), Ola Olukoyede, has charged members of the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) across the country to show public resentment against economic and financial crimes and other acts of corruption in order to put the nation on the sustainable path of development. He gave this charge at the NYSC orientation camp in Agu local government area of Enugu State while addressing the 2024 Batch A Stream 2 COW members across the country. Amina Kawa tells us more.
Speaking on the roles of youth in fighting corruption to promote economic growth, Olukoyede said every challenge experienced around can be traced to the consequences of corruption. He stated that the rising troubles of unemployment, insecurity, poverty, diseases, low life expectancy, hunger, robbery, kidnapping, and others are the result of mismanagement, misapplication, and misplacement of resources by those entrusted with them. The EFCC boss, who spoke through Assistant Commander of the EFCC, Onjefu Obe, pointed out that economic and financial crimes directly put the fortunes of the economy and polity of the nation in jeopardy. He noted that criminality of such dimension puts foreign direct investment in uncertainty, slow down genuine efforts to build formidable structures in industries, and greatly throws open the nation to avoidable complications. While calling on the core members to shun internet fraud, the anti-graft czar charged them on investing their time in bringing up creative ideas and drives that grow the economy, as many youths are getting embroiled in activities and tendencies that portend grave dangers for their future. He said the surge of internet fraud has become a pervasive trouble in the land, as the youths are getting embroiled in all sorts of cybercrime to the detriment of their future and the image of the nation. In Yenegua, at the NYSC camp in Boru Town, Keama, Bayelsa State, Olukoyede, speaking through an inspector of the EFCC, Otagada Sunday Oga, stated that a paradigm shift to developmental initiative has come, and it was time every youth embraced it as critical stakeholders. At the NYC orientation camp in Kaduna, Olukoyede spoke through the Kaduna Zonal Director, Benedict Ubi, and enjoined core members to be community advocates, whistleblowers who should never hesitate to speak out against injustice. Olukoyede spoke through Superintendent of the EFCC, Catherine Okeke, at the Kubwa Orientation Camp, Abuja. He called on core members to offer strong resistance against corruption and be intelligence gatherers. In Ilorin, at the NYSC Orientation Camp, Ikpata, Edu local government area of Kwara State, the EFCC's boss drew attention to the Commission's corruption reporting device, the application, the Eagle Eye. The Eagle Eye app is a digital means of conveying information to the EFCC without necessarily disclosing any identity. At the NYC orientation camp, Okada, Edo State, the EFCC boss represented by Williams Osegali warned core members against taking shortcuts to wealth. In Lagos, Ibadan, Sokoto, Makurdi, Uyo, Maiduguri, Kefi, and other locations across the country, the core members were warned against the menace of corruption and the need to build corporate synergy against it. Amina Kawa reporting for the Eagle.
To effectively fight corruption, one must have a realistic understanding of the risk involved. An objective risk assessment must be conducted so that the subsequent anti-corruption policy can be drafted with specific vulnerabilities, weaknesses in mind. Education is key to preventing corruption, as without education and regulation, corruption subverts society and its institutions by allowing unfairness and disloyalty to become the norm in how we treat each other and conduct business. Let's go to the interview room where Miracle Chukwaguziem is standing by to take us through the topic of the day on how to mitigate the risk of corruption involvement in public and private sector. Over to you, Miracle.
In our today's interview segment, we have Chief Superintendent of EFCC, CSE Hamisu Haruna, a certified fraud examiner and head economic governance, who will be talking on the topic, how to mitigate the risk of corruption involvement in the public and private sector. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, what is corruption generally, and what is it called if it involves high-level officers in public and private sector?
Generally speaking, corruption is defined as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. It is a dishonest or fraudulent behavior by those in power. And it is when it involves high-profile personalities, it is called grand corruption. It is called grand corruption because resources meant for development of a particular country is being diverted by public office holders at the expense of majority. This type of corruption is common here in Nigeria, and it is one of the major threats bedeviling the country right now.
How do we identify this corruption in government or private sector?
To identify corruption in government or private sector, there is what we call anti-fraud controls. Organization must put in place these anti-corruption, anti-fraud controls to be able to identify corruption. And one of the control is detective control. Detective control helps an organization to be able to identify when something bad occurred. And one of such control is taking measures to ensure that there is independent reconciliation, review, and inspection of records.
This corruption, is it committed by one person, or is it a group, or is it done in a syndicate?
Yes, basically this type of high-level corruption is a syndicate crime. We call it an organized crime. It is not a crime that is committed by one person. There are those that aided or those that conspired to perpetuate this crime. And at times, it cut across borders in the sense that it is transnational in nature.
How do this corruption, how does it affect Nigerian economy?
This type of corruption affects the Nigerian economy in so many ways. One of such is that it decreases foreign direct investment. No any investor will come and invest in a country where he knows that investing in such country is risky or unreliable. This is because that kind of environment allows corrupt practices to occur, and he will not come and invest his money because he believes that he will not get the desired result. And another thing has to do with loss of revenue. It is also one of the economic effects of this kind of corruption. And you all know that utilizing revenues helps in doing a lot of infrastructural development, such as construction of roads, hospitals, schools, and the rest.
What are the laws against those involved in this corruption, and what are the punishments?
Nigeria has so many laws regarding corruption. We have the Constitution, which is the most important law in the country. It prohibits public office holders and private organizations also from receiving any kind of benefit in the course of their duties. And secondly, we have the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Act. It also prohibits corrupt practices in the sense that it investigates, prevents, and also prosecutes cases related to financial and economic crime, which corruption is also involved. We have the Corrupt Practices Act, which the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses, that is ICPC, enforce. Yes. It also prohibits corrupt practices of public officers as well as private sector as well. And we have the Money Laundering Act, which penalizes the legitimization of illicit wealth by criminals.
That takes us to our next question. So what is the EFCC doing to curb this menace?
EFCC, that is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, is doing a great job in the sense that it used to carry out public enlightenment on the ills of corruption through schools, organizing seminars, advocacy, sensitization of the public on the ills of corruption, financial crimes also. Secondly, the Commission is also doing its best when it comes to investigation of corruption-related cases. The Commission has strengthened its capacity in terms of intelligence gathering to be able to find out and being proactive when some certain red flags have been raised against particular organization, being it public or private sector. Aside that, the Commission is also collaborating with relevant stakeholders and other sisters organizations, more especially those that are part of the Commission board. The Commission used to leverage on that advantage and collaborate with sister organizations and the relevant stakeholders, all in an effort to see that it has tied corruption to the board.
So any word of advice to Nigerians listening or watching us?
My final word of advice to Nigerians is, we all know that corruption poses a significant threat to the stability, growth, and development of this country. To address this menace, all hands must be on deck to be able to curb the scourging effects of corruption in Nigeria. It shouldn't be allowed to only law enforcement organizations. We should own the fight that this is one of the monsters that is affecting us as a country. It should be for all and sundry fight, not for only law enforcement organization.
You have heard it today that corruption hinders the economic growth of a nation and aggravates poverty and inequality. It also weakens our democracy when power is being abused. That's it on our interview segment today. My name is Miracle Chukwagozem Mwog. Over to you, Aisha.
Let's join hands with the EFCC to bring corruption to its barest minimum if not totally eradication. Nigeria is the only country we have, so all of us have to come together to make it better.
It's real. It's happening soon. The commissioning of EFCC Radio 97.3 FM is finally here. As the fight against corruption intensifies, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is set to commission its radio station, EFCC Radio 97.3 FM Abuja, Voices Against Economic and Financial Crimes. Date, Thursday, 16th May 2024. Time, 9 o'clock in the morning. Venue, EFCC Headquarters, Jabi, Abuja. Special guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris Malagi. Attendance is strictly by invitation. EFCC Radio 97.3 FM. Voices Against Economic and Financial Crimes.
And that's how we end today's episode of The Eagle. Until we come your way again, keep sending in your messages, enquiries and suggestions to info@efcc.gov.ng. You can also call us on 0809 3322644. Don't forget to use the EFCC mobile app, The Eagle Eye, to report any fraud you see happening around you. You download the app, you follow the steps and report fraud on the go. You can also take pictures of corrupt practices and upload them. Also remember to join us every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. on our web-based town hall meeting called EFCC Connect, where we answer your questions and note your observations of the anti-corruption fight in order to serve you better. And also listen to EFCC Radio 97.3 FM, the Voices Against Economic and Financial Crimes. I am Aisha Muhammad, leaving you with these parting words that says, if you want to influence others, the most important thing you can do is be a living example of the principles, ideals, and faith that you advocate. Let's be the change we want to see, as change begins with you and I. Nigeria is the only country we have. Let's salvage it together. Goodbye. God bless Nigeria. Please do stay safe, be kind to yourself and to others around you, and you enjoy the rest of the week.